How to pass prop firm challenges 101. In this video, I'm going to give you a lot of tips and tricks so that you can pass your prop firm challenges with ease. And this is coming from a mentor who has helped hundreds, if not thousands of his students get funded, right? Like all of these amazing results that you can see on the screen right here over and over again. So I can tell you with all my heart that every single tip and trick I'm about to teach you today works. All right, so yeah, continue. You can see this goes on and on. We got so many students who managed to get funded with all of these tips and tricks where I'm about to equip you with. Okay, so this is the secret sauce right there. Now, a lot of traders think prop firm challenges are a test of strategy. They are not. A prop firm challenge is a rule-based game. So that's how I define a prop firm challenge. It's simply a game. And if you win the game, that doesn't mean that you're a good trader. It just means that you really understand the rules of that game. If you fail at the game, that also doesn't mean that you're shit at trading. You could be a good trader, but still fail the prop firm challenge, all right? Because you don't understand the rules, because you don't play by the rules. And a lot of traders, they don't fail the prop firm challenge because their strategy sucks. They fail because they break the rules before their edge has enough time to play out. As a result, they overtrade, they revenge trade, they size up emotionally, they hold their trading trades through news, they hit daily loss, they blow overall drawdown, right? They start to break every single rule that the prop firm challenge asks them not to break, and that's why they fail, right? They can have the most profitable trading strategy under the sun, but because they exceed the risk parameters, because they violate a certain rule, they fail. So prop firm challenges are not just about making money. They're about making money without breaching the rules. That is the game. And once you understand that, your whole approach starts changing. Because now you stop thinking about how can I pass this as fast as possible, and you start thinking about how can I survive long enough, stay within the rules, and let my edge do the work. That is a much better question. So my best piece of advice for you who are trying to attempt a prop firm challenge or is going to attempt a prop firm challenge is this. Prop firm challenges reward the boring traders, not the emotional one. That's it. Okay? So once again, the big mistake right now is that a lot of traders, they try to rush the process. They are trying to get funded as soon as humanly possible. They see the 5% or 10% profit target and now they immediately start thinking, I need to make that quickly. I need to make this challenge worth it. I need to get funded with the 100K. I need to get funded fast. And that urgency is what destroys them. That urgency is what creates frustration, is what creates nervousness. And that's what allows you to actually fail the challenge itself. So it's like, you know how to trade, but because of the fact that you were nervous, because of the fact that you were emotional, you unconsciously violate any one of those rules right here and you fail the challenge. Okay? Remember, the faster you try to win, the more likely you are to break the rules. So ironically, the longer it takes for you to actually get funded. So you want to make sure that you're doing the boring stuff. The trader who stays consistent, who manages risk well, and keep his losses controlled will usually outperform the trader who keep trying to be a hero. Keep on trying to get funded in 20 days so that he can post on his Instagram and flex to his friends that he got a funded certificate. Right? So what actually matters here is this right here. These are the numbers that define the game itself. Okay, the profit target, the max daily loss, the max overall drawdown, the trading day, the time limit, all of which I'm going to go through with you in a bit in part 2 of this lesson itself. These numbers are everything because they define the game. If you do not build your strategy around these numbers, then you are not really trading the challenge. You are just trading your emotions inside someone else's rulebook. And that never ends well. Right? So what you want to do is to really understand the numbers and then structure your trading so that you can game those numbers mathematically. If the profit target is this, and that's what you should be aiming for, then you want to make sure that you adjust your risk parameters so that you do not violate your max daily loss, max overall drawdown, but still give yourself enough room to actually hit your target. So once again, we're going to delve deeper into the actual strategy in part 2 of this lesson itself. For now, let's just go back to the theory. Right? So what's the best strategy for passing then? It's this. Very simple. stay small, stay consistent, stay alive. I call these the 3 stays. Stay small, stay consistent, stay alive. What this essentially means is that you should be risking small enough that normal losing streaks do not kill you. Your risk per trade should not be more than 1% per trade, should not even be more than 0.5% per trade. And you want to focus on A and A plus setups only, right? You only want to be taking the setups where you know for a fact that it's going to work out. You want to avoid all the random trades that is outside of a trade plan. You don't want to force trades when the market conditions is not ideal, when the price is just chopping around. And you want to make sure that you protect your trading account, your trading rules at all costs. Because the goal here is not to hit the target in one day. The goal here is to hit the target without breaching the rules. Okay? And once again, that usually happens faster when you stop trying to rush it. Remember, the goal is not to get funded. The goal is to get paid. So getting funded is just stage 1. Right? Once you get funded, you still need to think about how to actually get paid. And not just get paid once, but get paid consistently from the market. So you might as well use this challenge right here to build the right habits from the ground up. So that eventually when you do get funded, when you do have the capital, you are able to adhere to your risk parameters because it's already a habit, right? It's already part of your identity. Okay, so yeah, like I said, a lot of retail traders, they tend to fail because they revenge trade after a loss. They overtrade out of boredom. They ramp up their lot size after a few wins. They hold into dangerous news events. They give back the profits back to the market. They try to make up for lost time. And all of this is not a strategy problem. Like, the guy can trade, right? The guy has a good strategy. But because he lacks discipline, he's too emotional, he lacks structure, he failed the challenge. So yeah, I really believe that passing a prop firm challenge is less about finding a better setup and more about building better behavior. If you have the right behavior, you play by the rules, it's only a matter of time until you pass. But if you have the wrong behavior, you can have the best setup in the entire world, but you will still fail. Even if you do pass, you will not be able to maintain that funded account. You will not be able to extract payouts consistently from that funded account itself. So yeah, it's all about just playing by the rules, to be honest with you. Right? Like I said, just like any game, you just got to understand the rules of the game, and as much as possible, try to game the rules of the game if you can, but you still have to follow them. Right? So yeah, your real edge in a prop firm challenge is not just strategy. It's your ability to turn the prop firm rules into your own system. Because once the rules are clear, the game becomes so much more easier. Which means define your risk, respect the daily loss, respect the drawdown right here. Keep your trade count low, trade only your best session, avoid landmines like high impact news, and just let the challenge unfold over a series of controlled days. That is how you pass. Not by gambling, not by rushing, not by trying to be clever, but by being structured enough to let your edge compound without self-sabotage, without breaking the rules and losing the account itself. So yeah, just to sum up everything, prop firm challenge isn't hard because of strategy, it's hard because of the rules. And your job is to turn those rules into a process that you can actually follow when emotions hit. Because it's gonna hit, right? Because when your hard-earned money is on the line, you're gonna feel nervous, you're gonna feel frustrated, you're gonna feel anger, you're gonna feel fear, greed, all of those stuff right here. Which is why it's so important for you to have some form of guardrails that prevent you from making stupid mistakes, that prevent emotions from taking control over your decision making. Which brings us to the second part of this lesson. Knowing the prop firm rules is one thing. Actually following them in real time is another thing. So now what I want to do is to show you how to use edge flow to turn those prop firm rules into guardrails. So you stop relying on willpower and start trading the challenge with structure. To me, this is how you cheat at a prop firm challenge, by having guardrails that other traders do not have. So with that being said, enjoy the lesson. This app lets you cheat at prop firm challenges. So you pass them faster, not by breaking the rules, the opposite, but by enforcing them. Now, before we talk about the game, right? Before we talk about how to pass a prop firm challenge faster, let's understand what the game actually is. So a prop firm challenge isn't a test of how smart your strategy is. It's a test of whether you can follow rules under pressure. So let's quickly break down the rules that govern the game, because once you understand these numbers, passing becomes way easier and you will stop failing for dumb reasons. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to show you in the example of a $200,000 funded account from FTMO. Right, so in order for you to get funded with 200k with them, you have to pay this refundable fee of like around 1k euros, and you have to pass their challenge, which is comprised of 2 phases. Okay, so once you pass those 2 phases, this is where you will get funded with 200k, and you can trade with this large amount of trading capital. So let's break down the rule one by one. First of all, we got a profit target. This is the goal that you need to hit in order to pass each phase. So for phase 1, the first phase, you have to get a profit target of 10%. And then for the second phase, you have to get a profit target of 5%. So you have to make 10% in the first phase, and you have to make 5% in the second phase in order for you to actually get funded. Right? So in total, you have to make around like 15% if you're combining both of them together. Bear in mind that you're not trying to get there in one day. You are trying to hit it without breaking the loss rules, which is what makes it kind of difficult, right? Because if you're just gonna aim for 10%, you can just full pot your account and just like over leverage, oversize your trades, and you can easily achieve that in like one trade. But the thing is, you have the max loss rule. So the max daily loss, this is the maximum amount of money you are allowed to lose in a single day. So in this example, it's 5%, right? So if you hit this and you keep trading, you fail. And this is the one rule that most traders breach, because they start getting tilted, they start spiraling out of control, they start revenge trading, and as a result, they lose way more than 5% on any given day, right? For example, on this trade they might lose 2%. Next trade, they lose another 2%. Now they're already down 4%, but they start feeling this urge to make back the money they have lost. So they continue trading, and then they lose another 2%. And then now they just lost the entire challenge. They just failed the entire challenge because they breached the max daily loss rule. Next is the max loss rule. This is the maximum you're allowed to lose on the account overall. So in this example itself, it's around 10%. So if you lose 10% of your capital in total, right, out of all the trades they have taken combined, you lose 10%, this is where you fail the challenge. All right, so you want to be extremely careful, right? This is what we call the death line, right? Once you cross this line, boom, you're gone. And then you got the minimum trading days. Minimum trading days is the amount of days that you are required to trade in order for you to pass this challenge, right? So some firms actually have this rule where you have to trade for a certain number of days. So this allows them to check whether you are just YOLOing one day and like just passing by luck, right? So in this example, it's 4 days, which means even if you hit the target early, right? Even if you make 10% in your phase 1 within like 1 day, you still have to take a bunch of trades for 3 more days in order for you to meet the minimum days requirement. And then we got the trading period. This is how long you have to complete the challenge. In this example, it's unlimited, right? Meaning there's no time pressure. You can trade it for as long as you want. You can take it at your own time, at your own pace. And as long as you get the 10% and 5%, you'll be fine. You can pass the challenge, right? So you can slow down, trade clean, and focus on not breaking rules. But on some prop firms, there might be some form of trading period, right? Where you have to pass and you have to get 10% or 5% within 30 days, within 60 days, right? So yeah, that's that. Last but not least, we got the rewards, right? The rewards is pretty much your profit split once you got funded. So in this example, it's up to 90%, which means when you get funded with 200K and you start winning trades, you start making money on the account itself, you will get to keep most of the profits. You will get to keep up to 90% of the trading profits. And then the firm will take the remainder, right? It could be 10%, could be 5%, depending on, once again, the percentage split. So I fundamentally believe that prop firm challenges isn't hard because of strategy. It's hard because of the rules, right? It's hard because of these rules right here. It's difficult to try to get this profit target. while simultaneously ensuring that you don't breach the max daily loss and the max loss rule. And then also ensuring that you actually meet the minimum trading days, right? So the rules is what makes it hard. So your job is to turn these numbers right here into guardrails, so you don't breach them when emotions hit. And that's what edge flow allows you to do, right? So now let's do that, right? Let's set up our prop firm guardrails into edge flow, right? Let's build discipline into our execution system so that we actually meet these rules and we can actually pass with flying colors. This way, once again, you're not relying on willpower. When you're angry, you're relying on a system. So let's go to settings right now and let's go to trading preferences. This is where you get to set your guardrails. So obviously we already have a lesson on how to set your guardrails properly, right? So please go and check out that lesson if you haven't done so. In this lesson, I'm just going to show you the guardrails that you can set in order to help you pass the prop firm challenge faster, right? So for max trades per day, I would advise you to set it to 3 to 5 trades a day. Okay, 3 to 5 trades, not too much. If you are risking 1% on any given trade, right, which I'm assuming you are, right, because if you are going for a prop firm challenge, you're either risking 0.5% or 1%. I'm going to talk more about this later on. You want to make sure that you don't take too many trades on a day, right? Because if you take way too many on the trades on a day, you're going to breach your max daily loss easily, right? So I'll say set it to 3 to 5 trades. I would say if you're a scalper, you can set it to 5, right? But if you're more of an intraday trader, you can just set it to 3, right? So highly recommend you to just tweak this to fit your trading style, to fit your trading personality, to fit your trading goals. And this is very useful because it really prevents you from over trading. It prevents you from, just incurring just breaching the max daily loss rule. So this is where I just be conservative and put 3. Now for the max daily loss, right? This is where you want to set it so that you have a little bit of buffer and you don't actually breach your trading rule, right? Breach your max daily loss rule. So earlier on in the example I've showed you, the max daily loss for the prop firm challenge is 5%. So if you put it at 5% right here, it's a little bit risky, right? So you might want to put it at 4%. This way, when you hit 4%, edge flow blocks you from trading. It prevents you from continuing trading, right? And now you know that, okay, cool, hands off, right? Or if you want to be even more safe, you can set it at like 2%. I personally like to set it at 2%. Right, so if I'm trading a 100K account, I'm going to set it at $2,000. If I'm trading a 200K account, like what you have just seen right here, this is where I'll set it at like $4,000, right? So that would be 2% of my account. But like I said, 2% is good enough for me personally. If you want, you can set it to 4%, right? But I like 2%, right? Just to be safe, okay? Because this is really the hard stop, right? That will block you from trading once you hit it. And this is also like the rule that causes most prop firm traders to fail. Next, you got your max daily profit. Now, this is completely optional, right? You can choose to set a max daily profit or you don't have to, right? Like it's completely up to you, but I still recommend you to do it. So earlier on, you have seen that on phase 1, you need to get 10% to pass, right? And then on phase 2, you need to get 5% to pass. But that's for your entire period where you are attempting the prop firm challenge. This is max daily profit, right? Which is the target that you want to aim for on a day-to-day basis. And once you hit the target, you stop trading to prevent yourself from giving your profits back to the market itself. So you need 10% overall, right? But for your daily profit, you don't need to get 10% in one day, right? You don't want to be doing that, right? Because if you're doing that, you're going to be over-risking, you're going to be increasing the likelihood of you making a mistake and then you failing the challenge. So what I recommend you to put here is 1%, okay? 1% of your trading account on any given day. So in this case, on a 200K account, right, this is where I'll put just $2,000. Once you made $2,000 for the day, you stop trading for the day. All right, if you want to be a little bit aggressive, you want to push it a little bit more, you could go for 3%, right, which is like around $6,000, right, or even 5%, right? But you just want to make sure that you set a figure that makes sense to you. Okay, so in this example, I'm just going to set it to like just 1%, right? 1% per day. As time passes, this will add up, right? Like I said, the goal here is not to make the most amount of money on any given day. The goal here is to make sure that you don't give back the money that you actually make. Okay, so 1%, once you hit it, stop trading, leave to fight for another day. Next up, we got the risk per trade. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, right? Because what you said here is gonna increase or decrease the likelihood of you actually passing this prop firm challenge? I recommend you to set it at 0.5%. Okay, 0.5%. Because when you risk only 0.5% of your capital on any given trade, now you have more room to breathe. Now you have more buffer to play with, where you can take more losses and still stay in the game, right? So 0.5% is a pretty good number for me. When I'm trying to attempt a prop firm challenge, I like to use a variable risk method, which means that I like to risk 0.5% on an A setup. But if I see an A plus setup, which means I have more conviction, more confidence, I could put it at 1%. I could actually increase my fixed risk per trade from 0.5% to 1%, right? But you don't want to set it over here, right? You can manually bump it up to 1% for that one trade when you are trading in the trading platform. So over here, I'll just put 0.5%. Let me just quickly show you what I mean, right? So over here, I already set my risk per trade at 0.5%. And today, let's say I enter for a buy for EURUSD and I want to place my stop loss at 1817. Okay, so let's say. And obviously, Edgeflow will automatically calculate my lot size based on my balance, right? And then let's say I want to place my take profit at 1.19, right? So this is where if it's an A setup, I will set it at 0.5%, right? But if it's an A plus setup, I might want to set it to 1%, right? So this is where I can press this unlock button and then just adjust my risk per trade to set it to 1, right? And I can see my lot size literally just doubled. And this is where I can actually place a trade. And it's an A plus setup, I'll risk 1% on this setup itself. Yeah, so this is what I'll recommend you to do. I'll recommend you to actually adjust the risk per trade manually to 1% when you see an A plus setup on the trading panel before you enter for the trade, rather than setting it in your guardrails, right? So in your guardrails, just stick to 0.5%. Your default risk per trade, it should be boring, it should be consistent. Okay, most importantly, it has to be consistent, especially in a prop challenge. Because prop firms don't fail you because of one bad trade. They fail you because you start breaching your risk management rules. You start hitting their limits, right? They like to punish you for breaching risk management rules more than they punish a normal losing streak. So be conservative, stick to 0.5%. And the thing about A plus setups is that it's quite rare, right? A plus setups are really those setups where they check off every single box. Once again, I already done a lesson covering how to define A plus setups, how to look for them. So you can check that lesson out. But when they do appear, they kind of earn the right to like slightly use a little bit more risk, right? Just 1%. Okay, so yeah, just stick to 0.5% and you'll be fine. Remember, consistency beats aggression. If you start sizing your trades randomly, you start to neglect your risk per trade. Sometimes you risk 0.5%, sometimes you risk 2%, sometimes you risk 5%. Now your equity curve will also become random. Okay, there's like a direct correlation with your actions being random and your results being random. And when you do that, you're going to breach your trading rules. But if you keep your risk consistent, right, always sticking to 0.5%, you can survive variance and let your edge play out. Next up, we got your trading window, right? So for a trading window, you only want to set your best session window, right? So based on data, based on historical performance, what is the time window that you tend to perform the best in? So for me personally, based on my data, I'll figure out that my trades tend to work out really, really well during the London Q zone, right? So that is somewhere within like 7 a.m. UTC to around 10 a.m. UTC, which means that during this window, right, during these 3 hours, I tend to see the most amount of trading opportunities. And when I do enter for those trades itself, those trades tend to play out within this time window, right? So I'll advise you to, like, once again, based on data, right, not based on guesswork or emotions, based on data, find out the time that you tend to perform the best in, right? Put the start time here, put the end time here, and just click Save Changes. And when you do that, now you have just set your guardrails, right? And you can see all your guardrails in here while you are trading. Your max trades per day, your trading window, your max loss, your max profit, and also whether you are actually violating any guardrails, right? It will always appear right here if you actually end up, violating your trading rules. Okay, so now that our core guardrails are set, there's one more rule that wipes out a ton of prop accounts, and it has nothing to do with strategy. And that is news. Okay, that is news, your economic news. On edge flow, we actually have an ability, right, to block trading before and after high impact news. The reason why we want to block trading before high and after high impact news is because when high impact news comes out, the spreads start blowing out of proportion. Slippage starts spiking. And then there's a lot of market manipulation where price goes up, down 100 pips and price hit both sides, grab all the available liquidity. And if you trade during news, you are essentially gambling. And a lot of prop firms, they will either restrict trading around news, which means if you trade around news, you will fail their challenge, or they will punish you for getting clipped by that insane volatility that actually appeared during news. Right, so highly recommend you not to trade news. Just come on to news on edge flow itself, and you can actually block trading before and after high impact news. I would recommend you to set it to 15 minutes before and after high impact news. Right, this way you can really like just stay away from trading during that unpredictable period where there's insane amounts of volatility. All right, we have turned the prop firm rules into guardrails. So all the biggest failure points are now blocked. But people still fail because of a few predictable behavioral patterns. So now, let me show you the most common ones and the exact edge flow fix for each. First of all, revenge trading, right? This is the fastest way to blow a challenge. You take one loss, you start getting emotional, you start trying to make it back immediately. Edge flow fixes that with the max daily loss hard stop, right? The guardrail that we have literally just said. And if you still feel triggered, I would highly recommend you to go straight into our sanctuary feature to reset your nervous system, to get back into mental equilibrium before you do something stupid. Next is overtrading. Most traders don't fail because of one bad trade. They fail because they take too many low quality trades. They prioritize activity over making money. Edge flow fixes that with max trades per day and a shorter trading window. So you're only trading your best hours and you're only trading your best setups. Next is holding into high impact news, right? News volatility. Like I said earlier on, news is where spreads start widening, slippage start happening, and price hit both sides, right? So there's a lot of like unpredictable volatility during news. And edge flow fixes this with news blocking and allows you to plan in advance on the economic calendar. You know exactly what days have high impact news and you can trade around it. Next is respikes after win, right? So this is a silent killer. You win a couple of trades, you start feeling euphoric, you start feeling invincible, you start sizing up, and then you take one bad loss. And then that one bad loss into one big loss. And then that one big loss wipe out your entire progress. You know, you could be like just 1% away from the profit target, but then you lose. And then now you start getting emotional. And then you lose another trade. And then now you just wiped out all your gains and you're back to square one. You're back to 0%. And then eventually you even go all the way down and breach your max loss rule, right? Because you kept trading after the initial loss. So edge flow fixes this with fixed risk tiers, right? Allows you to stick to a consistent risk per trade every single time before you enter for the trade. And we also track your consistency. So you stay boring and consistent. And giving back profits, right? We all know the feeling of you making money, you keep trading and you donate it back to the market. The market doesn't need your money, guys, right? But you donate it back to the market because you're so kind. Edge flow fixes this with a profit target stop and the habit of closing your session once you've hit your daily goal. That's it for this lesson itself, right? Remember, passing a prop firm challenge is really simple. It's just like a game. Once you understand the rules of the game and you practice it, eventually you're just gonna get good at the game. So don't break the trading rules, stay consistent, and let your edge compound. Edge flow, get it? Let the edge compound. Most people fail because they rely on willpower, and willpower disappears the moment emotions hit. And with edge flow, we turn your prop firm rules into a system. So discipline becomes automatic and passing becomes inevitable.